Hi, gang. What's going on, everybody? Good to see everyone here tonight. How are you? Thanks for coming to the live stream. We're going to talk all stuff SSL this evening. I hope you're all doing well. Get reared up and ready for the holidays. Good to have you all here. Let me know if the audio is okay and that you guys can hear me okay. We're going to start in a couple minutes early here just to get everybody together and maybe say hello to people in the chat, which maybe we could do that right now while people are filing in, and then we'll get on with the show. So David S.J.'s here. Hey, brother, what's going on? Brian Kaufman. Hey, crying. Hey, crying. Hey, Brian. How are you, my friend? Lawless is here. Hey, Lawless. How are you? Good to see you. Bright Sound Recording Studios. Are we live? Yes, we are. Been waiting to see another live show. I literally just got through the door. Thank goodness for YouTube notifications on my phone, or I would have missed this. Well, I'm glad you hit the notification bell and you know when we're putting up new content. That's awesome, Bright Sound. Thanks so much for coming in. Really, really neat. Awesome. Let's see. Jim Chisholm. Hey, Jim. How you doing, buddy? Bruce is here. Hey, Bruce. Sounds good. Thank you, my friend. It's very nice of you to let me know that. That's awesome. Cool. Bright Sound says, tried adding a drummer mastering channel on my master bus, have yet to make it right. Oh, you're adding some gear. All right, man. He also says he found out about Studio One 6 so quick when they released 5 and now 6 in the same year. No, they didn't release 5 and 6 in the same year. It's about 18 months from the time that 5 and 6 came out. Actually, it's almost 2 years. I don't know the exact date, but it's not. I know it seems like it's the same year. It's not. It seems like it goes by so quick, doesn't it? But believe me, it's not. The versions of Studio One are about every 18 to 24 months when they come out. So that means that Studio One 7 will probably come out in about a year and a half. I'm sure there'll be a Studio One 7. So that's what's going on there. So it doesn't come out as quickly as you guys think. Doesn't come out as quickly as you guys think. So I hope everybody's doing well. So what we're going to do tonight is we're going to take a look. Now, if you haven't been, and I know all of you's here tonight, but one's watching the replay tomorrow or coming in a little late and watching the replay. If you have not seen all the videos that I've been putting out with the SSL UC1 plug-in controller, and you're soon to see the UF8, those have all been recorded. They've all been published and they're coming out one video a week. Go check those out. There's 3 of them now that I think are up there as of today. And there's at least 3 or 4 more that are in the pipe. Tonight, what we're going to, and those are done individually. Videos individually for the UC1, videos individually for the UF8. But what we're going to do tonight is a way to kind of button up this whole series and put a nice little red bow on it for the holiday, is we're going to look at them both together and kind of how they work both together. Because I think that's the best combination to have both of them, at least for me. But what do I know? So we're going to talk about that tonight. I'm going to take your questions. We're going to hang. But before we get started, we're just coming up on 7 o'clock. And Dave's already thrown links in the chat, so it's a good segue. Thank you, brother. So if you don't know, first of all, if you're watching this and you're in earshot of my voice and you are not on the homerecordingmadeeasy.com email list, you really ought to be. And here's why. So when you go to homerecordingmadeeasy.com, if you've never been there before, you can get a free mixing course. It's right on the homepage. Go ahead and download that. When you go and do that, you're going to create yourself an account. And what that's going to do, it's going to put you on my VIP email list. And you say, well, why should I be on your email list? Because with the exception of things like Black Friday sales and Christmas holiday sales, throughout the rest of the year, the only way you get deals, discounts, and coupons on any training on my website is if you are on the VIP email list. Doesn't cost you anything to be there. And that means that throughout the course of the year, as new courses are coming out, as old ones are going on sale, so on and so forth, you guys get the best deals, anywhere from 30 to 40 to 50 to 60% off, depending on what it is. That is not made available to the general public. Okay. So you want to be on that email list. If you follow Uncle Dave and you like my training, that's where you want to be. Now, as far as sales going on right now, tonight, 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the 60% off early Black Friday sale goes away. So Dave's already put the link in the chat. There's a coupon code right on the homepage. Dave's already got it there. Look at that. Dave's on top of it. Save 60. That is going to take 60% off. Just use that coupon at checkout. By tomorrow morning, that 60% is no longer going to be valid. Okay? So if you're watching this tomorrow, We're going to have some more Black Friday deals coming up next week, but it's not going to be at 60% off. That's going to be the largest sale of the season, okay? So if you want to save the most amount of money, go open up another web browser while you're watching the stream. Go pick up your courses tonight, because I don't want to hear you moaning and groaning come next week that you can only get 40% off and not 60. I'm telling you now. All right. So go ahead and go do that. And thanks to everybody who's already picked up that stuff. So that's going on right now. It ends in a couple of hours. And again, if you were on my email list, you've been getting notifications all week about it. So make sure you're on the email list. The other thing I want to talk about, because we're talking about mixing. And so we're looking at mixing, surface controls here tonight. I've been doing videos all year on all the major control surfaces, dog controls, plug-in controllers on the market. We've done the Softube Console 1. There's a whole series of videos on the channel. You should check those out. We've done the Icon QCon Pro X. Same thing. We've done the PreSonus Faderport 16. Now we're doing the SSL stuff. And we're soon to be doing the PreSonus Studio Live, which does dog control and a whole bunch more. That'll probably happen early in January. And there might be a couple others that are coming in down the pike. So we can get all the dog controllers in this studio, and I put together a series of videos so you can kind of see the features and functions of all of them. So we're talking a lot about mixing over the last 6 months. So right now, if you're into mixing and you want to get better at the craft of mixing, especially if you're someone with less than 2 years of experience, but even more intermediate and advanced guys, right now our membership is open, and it only opens once a year at mixingmadeeasy.net. I'm sure Dave will throw that into the chat. And right now you can get in and you can enroll at mixingmadeeasy.net. It tells you right on the homepage everything about Mixing Made Easy. You basically get a brand new training course every single month with new multi-track files, blah, blah, blah. And if you sign up for an annual membership, you save 60%. 60% on an annual membership, okay? So that's the best deal in town. You're gonna get 4 to 5 hours worth of training from me every single month. You get to win plugins as part of our mixing contest. We have a live coaching call. There's a user community, a private user community of members. We're all trying to help each other and we're all interacting together. The community is probably the hidden secret of mixingmadeeasy.net. Anyway, you can't just join anytime you want. I only open up those doors around the holiday time for new members, and it's only open until the end of this month. So go check out mixingmadeeasy.net if you want to learn mixing. Like if you want to get a lot deeper and get a lot more into mixing than you do when you just buy the Home Recording Made Easy courses, mixingmadeeasy.net is the place to be. So make sure you check that out. Hope you guys are taking notes. Hope you're writing this stuff down. We're going to get to this stuff in a minute. Don't worry. Got to get through all the housekeeping. Okay, so that's what's coming up. And oh, by the way, if you're interested in these UF8 or UC1, again, right in the description box below, there are 2 links there. Those are my affiliate links to Sweetwater. If you do purchase those, it helps me out here. It gets me a small commission. But obviously, you guys don't pay any more for the product. Sweetwater's the best in the business. We've been saying that for years here. You can use those links, copy them, put them on your desktop. You can use those links 365 days a year. Anytime you go to Sweetwater and buy anything, guitar strings all the way up through studio gear, that helps me here. So I really do appreciate it. And thanks to all you guys that have already done that. Lots of you guys use those affiliate links and I really do appreciate it. It helps. It allows me to do these kinds of things. It frees up my time and it really helps. And also too, when you guys do those things, because I have to meet once every quarter with Sweetwater about how my affiliate links are doing. But what that does is it allows me to get new gear in here so I can bring these kinds of videos to you. The only reason why we're doing this SSL stuff, the only reason is because Solid State Logic and Sweetwater sent it to me. It's the only reason. We wouldn't be doing it if we didn't do it. I can't afford to go out and buy all this gear just to do reviews for you guys. So it really helps me get new gear in here and it really helps me bring these kinds of things to you. So those affiliate links are really, really helpful. Okay, last but not least, what's coming up towards the end of this year and into the first quarter of next year. So there's some new courses coming in Home Recording Made Easy. We're going to be refreshing and redoing the recording drums course and the mixing drums course. We're going to take those 2 courses are going to go away, the original ones. Still great courses. They're a few years old now, probably 5 years old. If you want to see those, you can pick them up right now at 60% off. But in the new year, we're going to be recording a whole new drum course. Recording drums and mixing drums are going to be together in one larger course. And we're going to do something way above and beyond the stuff that's already been done today. As a matter of fact, David SJ, my partner in crime here, who's moderating tonight, he is going to be, I think, quite instrumental in helping me put that together. We've talked a good amount today together about what I'm thinking about doing for that course. And so if you want to learn how to record acoustic drums in a small home studio or your basement or your bedroom with, you know, affordable drums, affordable microphones, and get top-notch drum sounds, you're going to want to stay tuned to that. So again, that's coming soon in the beginning of 2023. And then lastly, in the beginning of 2023, we're going to be putting out some hybrid mixing courses that have everything to do with the SSL, which is sitting behind me, which you guys can see. We're going to be doing all hybrid mixing with hardware. You're going to really dig that. That's coming in 2023 as well. So if you're into hardware and you're into buying gear, and some of you guys here tonight are talking about buying gear, go check out our other YouTube channel. David SJ and I kind of do this together on that channel called Mixing Music Analog. If you want to learn about consoles and hardware and mixing and recording and all of that stuff, Mixing Music Analog, the YouTube channel, is really the place for that. I try to stick to all in the box here at Home Recording Made Easy, but if you want to go hybrid or out of the box or analog, Mixing Music Analog is the place to be. I think that's it. That's all I got, at least for now. So let me scroll back up in the chat here. Let me see who else is here, and then we'll jump into Studio One, and and you guys can ask me questions about these two products as well, and we'll definitely do that. So let me just scroll back up and see if anybody else has joined that I did not say hello to. I think I said hello to Jim. Jim, how are you, brother? I don't know if I said hi to you, but if I didn't, how are you? Kaiser's here. Hey, Kaiser, good to see you. How are you? Let's see. Bright, I keep wanting to call you Byte Sound. It's Bright Sound. Bright Sound Recording Studios. Hey, how much capital would you save up, not including business loans, to start your own recording studio in a local place? Wow. Well, it depends on where you're going to go, man. You know, where you are in your location. If you're talking about building out a full-on recording tracking studio, how much would I save up? You know, I would be honest, let's say you rented an open space and you had to build it out from scratch. Let's just say that was worst case scenario. You found yourself a rent, you have to build it out, and you got to, you know, do all the building costs and then put some gear in there and stuff. I'd probably say 100 grand would probably be a way to do it right. I would think maybe a little less, maybe a little more. It depends on what you want to do. That's a really open-ended question. I would say probably to do one right in my area here in Connecticut on the East Coast, if I was going to rent out a space where I had a live room, a control room, a couple isolation rooms, if that's what you're talking about, Bright Sound, even though I have a console and I have all the gear, but just to build it out and do it right and make it a place where artists would really want to come and hang out and spend money in, because the recording studio business, man, is a tough business these days. Because everybody can record at home in home studios. And so you really got to offer something that home studios can't offer. You know, maybe it's gear, analog gear, a console, really high-end equipment, that kind of stuff. But I'd say probably 100 grand. That would be my number. And then I would write a budget around it, and maybe it'd be a little less. But I would probably be going $100,000. That's what I would probably say. We already got a thumbs down. We got that one person that just loves everything I put out within 5 minutes, thumbs down. That's strange. But you know, they actually are notified when I put out content so they can put out the thumbs down. Tony's here. Hey, Tony, how are you? Tyler Johnson's here. Hey, Dave. Hey, Tyler, how are you, buddy? I know Tyler. How you had some time to tune in. Cool, man. Good to see you. I hope you're doing well, you and your family. That's really cool. Wow, I didn't think it'd be that open of a question. Well, it is. I mean, you'd have to be more detailed, but I'd say 100 grand. That would be my number. Okay. Let's switch over. Let me move my chat out of the way. Where am I going to put this? I'll put this over here for now. And I'll keep my eye on it. Let me switch over here to another camera. Or two. And we're going to take a look at what we're going to take a look at. Let me just shrink this up. Okay, so what we have, let me get my headphones. Okie dokie. All right, that sounds pretty good. Okay, so what we got on the screen here. So we got the UC1 and the UF8. And again, you're going to go watch. I'm not going to go through every feature and function, because that's why you're going to go watch all the videos that I've been putting together for the last 3 or 4 weeks. Dave says, that's okay. We can't see the losers anyway. I don't, it's fine. You know, it's so funny. I was going to tell you this today, Dave, but I'll just say it anyway, because I think it's hilarious. And me and Charlie were talking about this, and we'll probably talk about this again on Sunday. By the way, there's a live stream on Sunday evening, I think at the same time, 7 p.m. over on our other YouTube channel. You may want to check that out. We're going to talk about gear. But anyway, it's so funny. Every single video that I put out on Home Recording Made Easy, and I mean every video, within the first 5 minutes of it going live, there's a thumbs down. And it's usually just one thumbs down, every single video. And I thought, geez, man, my God. And then I thought, you know, someone actually is subscribed to you. They have hit the notification bell just so when your video comes out, no matter what the topic is, no matter what we're doing, they could put a thumbs down. Think about the kind of individual that does that. Just think about that. Like, think about that for a minute. What kind of a person has such a, maybe, hopefully, sadly, a miserable life that their focus is to wait till someone puts out a video so they can instantly go do thumbs down, you know? Like, they think that really affects you. I actually laugh at it, and I actually feel sorry for people like that. I really do. But it's funny. Anyways, just think about that. What kind of a person does that, you know? Well, you got nothing else better to do? And I always say to those people, hey, if you don't like what we do here, man, let's see your YouTube channel. Show us how it's all done. If you think you can do better, put up the content, brother. Let's see it, or sister. Anyway, just having fun. So here we are. So we got the UC1 and the UF8. So let's just talk a little bit about, because people, you're going to ask, and you guys are going to ask, and you should ask. You're going to ask me the questions. How does it compare to the Console 1? How does it compare to the Icon? So let's just talk about broadly what we're doing here. It's hard to tell on camera. Both of these things together physically take up more room than the Softube Console 1. If you had the Softube Console 1 in that little angled rack that I had when I did the live streams, and you saw the fader in front of me, and then on that little angled rack, you had the controller. It takes up, I would say, not twice as much room, but probably 50% more room on your desk laid out side by side like this. Whereas if you didn't have that stand with the Softube Console 1, and if you put those side by side, they'd still take up only about 80% of the physical real estate. Okay, so that's one of the things. So it's not huge like the Icon QCon Pro X that you saw me do took up the whole desk. I almost couldn't get it in frame on the camera on the overhead. That's how big that unit is. That unit took up probably double the room, double the length as you see here. The Icon QCon with 24 faders, okay? And as far as the PreSonus fader port, this setup the PreSonus fader port is a little bit smaller than the UF8, not much smaller, but a little bit smaller, but it's similar. So those are the kind of the size comparisons. But really the main competitor, I feel, when you put these two units together, it's not really compared to the fader port or to the Icon. It really competes with Softube's Console 1 because you have a dedicated plug-in controller and you have a dedicated fader system that even does more than that. So that's really the major competitor, at least in my mind. The one thing that these two units have that most of those other units do not have, which I really like, is on the front. You can't really tell by the photo, but you'll see it in the videos on the channel. They have these two little legs that are adjustable that are screwed to the back of each unit, so you could change the angle. Well, let me show the camera. So you could change the pitch. So you can angle the unit up towards you and they're not laying flat on the table. I never liked that when they were on flat on the table. And all the other dock controllers that I've ever used are like that. Even the Console 1, unless you put it in that nice little rack, which I would highly recommend. Then you don't have to worry about that. But as far as if you didn't have that, they're all flat. And with these kinds of units, I find that's a really big deal. And here's why. Because a lot of these units, the printing and the LEDs and even some of the buttons, depending on which product you're using, are kind of small. And when they're laying flat and they're at that angle, you constantly have to kind of reach over and look over the top. And ergonomically, when you do that for a long time, I felt it uncomfortable. So I would always prop up something in the back, like a piece of wood or a piece of foam to angle it up. I love that it comes this with the SSL. And you can adjust it to 2 or 3 different angles. It really is nice. The other thing, you know, again, just kind of trying to tell you what I really like about this, maybe over some of most of the other ones, is the way that especially the UC1 Okay, talk about plug-in controllers. When you compare this directly to the Softube Console 1, the layout of this is much more easy, I think, to get used to. The fact that all the knobs for the most part are color coded, that things are spread out in a way so they're easy to see, and all of all of the screen printing, oops, you don't want to do that. All of the screen printing on the unit itself, so you know what all the buttons do and such, are very easy to read. The font and the coloring, it's not a struggle to read. I can tell you, for me personally, when I use the Softube Console 1, and I think I said it in our live stream when we did it, that a lot of the buttons on the Softube are much smaller. The LEDs are much smaller, and the printing on the unit itself was difficult to read unless you had super bright lights on in the room. It was almost impossible for me to read, even if it was angled up. So this is a better layout, and I don't struggle, as I'm even looking at this now, I don't struggle to read any of the printing on either one of these units, but in particular, the UC1. It's very, very easy to read, and it's very easy to navigate. You're not kind of looking and squinting and go, what does that thing say? What does it do? Definitely better. And the same thing goes with the UF8. Compared to the Icon, compared to the PreSonus Fader port in that respect. The overall build quality of these two units, I think, are the best of every one that I've done so far. They're all, you know, this heavy gauge kind of aluminum. It's not a thin aluminum. It's like a thicker metal. I don't know if it's, I'm saying it's aluminum. I don't know if that's exactly what it is, but it's a thicker material. They're built like a tank. When you manhandle them and you put your hands on them, it feels professional level grade. It doesn't feel cheap. The buttons don't feel chintzy or plasticky. If you saw the unboxing video, I talk about all these things. It just feels high quality. It really does. Compared to any other one that I've used, and that includes the Softube. The Softube to me is, as well, it was a metal casing, and I did like it. It is a good product, but compared to this, that felt to me a little bit more, the buttons are a little bit more plasticky, a little bit more, I wouldn't say cheap, but it didn't feel as high quality, okay? Now, comparatively speaking in price, if you're just talking about the UC1 is about, I don't know, say the console one is maybe, I wouldn't say it's 50% less in money, it's probably 35% less in cost. This is about $900 as I sit here today. The UC1, I think Softube Console 1 is $500 or $600, something like that. So it is considerably more money. I mean, let's face it, it is, but it's built better. It's built better. It's laid out better. The knobs and such, the way it feels like a better piece of equipment to me. All these knobs, the EQ knobs, the bus compressor knobs feel just like my console. Identical. They're not, I don't know if it's the same knob, but it feels like it's the same knob. So it's the same stuff that they put on their consoles. At least that's what I can tell. So that's kind of the rundown of the, you know, it's built better. It costs more, but they're built better. They're better featured. They're better laid out. So far, this has been my favorite one. And when you take into account all the consideration, the amount of space it takes up, the build quality, the layout, the ease of use, all of that stuff, to me, out of all the ones we've done so far, if you put the money aside for a second, although I know that's a deciding factor for many people, I get it. But if you just put that aside and said, forget the money and what the differences in prices are, if you just had to say, I want a plug-in controller and I want a fader controller, out of all the ones we've done, which one would I do? Which one would I have purchased? It would be this one. Without even question, a close second would be the Softube, because of the dedicated plug-in controller. Because to me, that makes this thing work. This on its own, the UF8, it's cool. You'll see the videos coming up over the next several weeks. It does do plug-in control. But just like the fader port, just like the Icon, it probably does it a little bit better than those two units, but it's still kind of clunky. It's not a really speedy workflow. Where the plug-in controller is what makes all the difference in the world in this kind of a setup, at least in my opinion. So that's just how I feel about it. So anywho, let's just do something simple. So I just want to show, and again, you'll also know too, and I've said this in some of the videos, but if you haven't seen them yet, there's many people on YouTube that have reviewed these products, right? And I don't think I've seen a bad review yet. And the same thing with the Softube. There's not a bad review out there. They're good products. They both are good products. Most of those channels, they get the thing in their studio. They work with them for a couple of months. They do several mixes on them. They really get to learn them. They get very, proficient using them. And then they bring the review, which is totally cool because that's, you want to do an in-depth review. You really want to know the product inside. Now, that's cool. We have a lot of YouTube channels that do that. I do the exact opposite. When I do these videos, not really this one because I've worked with this one now a little bit, but when I do those videos, I get it out of the box, I plug it in to make sure we can actually turn it on and it's not a defective product. And then I literally turn on the camera and we kind of learn it together live. And the reason why I do that is because I don't want to get overly familiar with it because I want to try to give you this, I want you to see what the experience is going to be like for you. If you decide to purchase this, how easily can you set it up? How easily can you learn the features and functions? How quick, how fast can you get working with it? How easy is it to get on with one of these products where you don't have to break open the manual, or you do, maybe you don't, depends on the product. And just how quickly can you get up and running with the least amount of frustration? The only way you'll see that is if you see someone doing it kind of in real time for the first time. And that's why I like to do it that way. The only downfall to that is that sometimes I'll say in the videos, I've read the manual and I can't figure out how to do this one thing. And I'll mention that. And then someone in the comments will say, no, I found out how you do it. This is how you do it. And then I'll gather up that information. If there's a couple of things that I could add, I'll do another follow-up video. Or if I made a mistake, because I don't know the product intimately, I'll do a follow-up and I'll make a correction. Doesn't happen very often, but it does happen from time to time. So sometimes the information I give you could not be dead accurate on every single nook and cranny because I don't know the product that well. But you get a real understanding of what it's like when you get it into your studio and you open it for the first time. You say, okay, am I gonna be able to get this thing running, or am I gonna have a hell of a time? That's why I do it that way. Just so you know that. Okay, so anyhow. So what I have here on the screen, I know I got the 2 units in front of you here, but basically we just got some drums, bass, acoustic piano, all the faders, are just kind of thrown up here. And then what I have here, let me see if I can bring it up and if I can get it out of the way. I'm going to let me move some things around for a second here. Okie dokie. So what I did was I threw the new 4KB channel strip across. Oh, I guess I can leave it like that, right? Yeah, then you could see the channel strip. That's probably a good idea. On all the tracks, and everything's just a default. We haven't done anything yet. Just to kind of show you how you can just kind of whip around this thing and just kind of, get things dialed in pretty quick. Now, like I said, I've done the videos, so I've worked with it a little bit. I've done 2 months worth of content for mixingmadeeasy.net with this. So I have now mixed a couple of songs with it. I'm not an expert at it. I'm not super fast at it, but I know more than I did on day one. So just keep that in mind. So anyhow, here we go. So let's just pull down. And the one thing I will say about this too, that I found, is that I really didn't have to touch the mouse and keyboard much at all. Kind of like the Softube Console 1. And again, that's my goal. Keep your hand off the mouse and keyboard. And oh, by the way, I threw the SSL bus compressor on the master bus, just so it's there. Okay, so my goal is to kind of keep my hand off the mouse and keyboard as much as I can. So let's, got a loop running. Let's go ahead and let me know if the sound for Studio One is loud enough. I'll turn it up a little bit here. And also keep in mind, I have a microphone in front of me, so I'm kind of reaching around things. But just to kind of, the other thing I really love about this that works really well, there's absolutely no latency, no drag, no nothing. So you can just kind of dial in some stuff here. If you want to hit the preamp a little harder, turn it down a little. And I'll watch the chat. I'll try to watch the chat, but if not, we'll get to a Q&A. Don't worry, I'm not gonna be able to do everything at the same time. Now, if we want a little bit of dynamics here, we could do that as well. Now, this is the old. Oh, do I turn my dynamics in? There we go. Say what's going on there. I don't think I was touching the right button. So it's really that quick. You can open and close plug-in windows right from the UF8, which is great because these kind of work in tandem, which is really good. Now we got a snare top. So, I mean, it's really kind of just not a big deal here. Could push the gain up a little. Level match it best we can. Audio okay? The audio is okay. Just someone say, yeah, it's okay. For the Studio One here. As we bring in more instruments, obviously it'll get a little bit better. Oh, you know what else is really cool on this thing? This particular channel strip. Up here at the dynamic section, it also has a de-esser in it, and I actually used the de-esser in the mixingmadeeasy.net content. It actually works really well. I'm really surprised at how well the de-esser works. Okay, we can, or you can switch the tracks here. Snare bottom. So whether you change the tracks on the UF8 or whether you change the tracks using the UC1, the plugin advances. So you don't have to open and close the plugins, much like the Softube Console 1. And that's not unique to DAW controllers. That's pretty standard. The UC1 has a transport control on here. The UF8 also has a transport control. You can press up here and do it. And they've color coded the transport control. Or you could do it down here. You know, so it just depends. When you have both of them, you could do multiple things with both units. Little dynamic section here. Let it loop around again. Now, just so you know, in case you're wondering, so the way I'm level matching the plugin is by using the fader here on the UC1 to dial down this fader. You can also use the output trim here down here beneath the fader. However, one of the things that I can't figure out, and if there's a fellow UC1 user here tonight in the chat, let me know. I can't see how you turn down that output trim on the UC1. You got to use your mouse to do that, which is okay. So you can keep this, you can keep the fader at 0 and you can just turn down the output trim, but I can't figure out how to do that from the UC1. I don't know why. You could do it from the UF8 if you're in 360 mode, but just so you know, that's why I'm doing it that way, just to make it easy. But it's just a workflow thing, whatever works for you. Okay, we got hats. And we can pan our hats, even though you guys can't see that on the screen. You can solo up the hats. Here's some room mics. Maybe bring some low end into the rooms. Get rid of the mud. Let it loop around a little. Overheads. Oh, I gotta select. I didn't select that channel. That would be a good idea. So you can see how quick it is. Now I'm just using one hand because I'm trying to stay out of the way of the camera so you guys can see. Right? Some acoustics. Now, I will say the one thing that I don't like about the UF8, and again, there's only one controller on the market that gets this right, and this is the Softube Console 1. You can't see it here. Without me moving stuff around, you can't see it. But let me go back to the kick track here for a second. You'll be able to see that. If I come all the way back to the kick track, you'll see in Studio One, right underneath the channel strip. Let me close the channel strip. You'll see that we're on track 1. And if I go on UF8 track 2 and I select track 3, track 4, it all moves just fine in the console, no problem. If I use the UC1 controller here or channel selector, it works no problem. I just turn it. I actually like doing this much more than I like pushing the buttons. However, when you use the channel knob or the channel selector on the far right here on the UF8, if I turn this, you'll see the faders on the UF8 move. And you may not be able to see the LCD all that clearly, but you can see the LCD changes the track name. But look what it doesn't do in Studio One. It doesn't follow. It only follows when you use the select button. Again, that's not a big deal, I guess. I mean, but I hate that. I don't know why nobody could get that right except for Console One. It doesn't work. But when I use it with the UC one and I use the channel knob, it not only changes in Studio One, but it also changes on the UF8. You'll see the select light. You may not be able to see it all that well, but trust me, the select light moves with the UC one. So it does work that way. So it's just a little, you know, it's not a showstopper necessarily, but just to make you guys aware, you can open and close plugin windows here, which is really cool, right with the UF8 there on your quick key. So I think we were over here on acoustic number 2, yeah? So there's the other acoustic. Come on, come back around. Pan that over. So you can see, hopefully, easily that it's quick. It's very, very quick. And if, you know, if I didn't have to move the microphone in front of me, it'd be a little bit faster. But when you get this thing right up in front of you and you're not distracted, you know, talking on video and whatnot, it is fast. Once you kind of figure out for yourself what functions you want to use on the UC1 to kind of navigate the DAW, like I said, with channel select and those kinds of things versus the UF8, you kind of figure out what works for you. As you saw there, I never had to touch the mouse or keyboard. It just works. And that's what I really like about it. There's a couple of little, you know, nooks and crannies and some things I think they can do a little bit better with this. And you'll see that in the likes and dislikes video when that comes out. Now that's if you're mixing in, and I'll be honest with you, we're mixing in what I'm calling DAW mode. We're in Studio One. We have our plugin on the screen. We only have to open the thing once, blah, blah, blah. Now, the thing that was kind of intriguing to me about this system and as well, which is a little different from Softube, is that they have their proprietary 360 software, which we could bring up here quickly so you guys can see it. And what I'll try, yeah, I think that's good enough. I don't know if I have to shrink up let me try to shrink this up just a little bit here for you guys to see a little bit more of that. Okay, so if you're in, and let me just show you, and again, I've done this in all the videos, so you'll be able to see it and whatnot. So when we come to, oops, where is it? Here we are. When we have our 3 layers here that you program at the top of the UF8. Layer 1 is in our DAW mode in Studio One. Layer 2 is the plugin mixer, which is the 360. So when I go to layer 2, if I go to layer 2, now what that does is it throws the UF8 to where now the UF8 is what's controlling the 360 software, meaning that our faders can move here. See, I'm moving the fader here in the UF8, and that's moving it in the 360. If I go back to layer 1, back to DAW mode, and I move that fader, you'll see the faders here don't control the 360 software. Okay, it doesn't control the 360 software. Only when it's in layer 2, then I can control it here. Okay, so you could put in Studio One or any DAW, you could put all your faders at 0 and you can mix straight from here, which is what a lot of people were excited about, which I was as well. And that is a way to do it. So if you only had the UF8 and you wanted to work this way, you can do that. You can also, when you have the UC1, you'll see that I can use the fader to control it, or I can also use the gain knob on my UC1. And you see when I turn my gain knob, you'll see that the fader here on the UF8 is moving as well. And what's kind of cool about it is if you just had the UF8, now the channel strip that's on the track, which is that 4KB, all of the controls for the channel strip are now on these encoders as part of our soft keys up here at the top right-hand corner. So every one of the soft keys will page over all the different parameters for this particular channel strip, and it has every single control on there. So if you only had a UF8, you can control this plugin with the encoders. You can also do it with the mouse, certainly, but if you just wanted to do it from the UF8, you can do that. It is cool. The one thing that makes this a little bit nicer is it looks, you know, it looks like it would look if you're looking down at a real SSL. This is what it looks like. This is exactly how it looks. The layout is exactly the same, which is kind of nice. And you can control everything. But what I found, for me personally, when I tried to mix this way, I found myself constantly having, well, not constantly, let me say it this way. If you're only using the channel strip and you're only using the bus compressor and everything is in the 360 software, it's cool. But if you're using any other plugins in your system, let's say you're using some other third-party plugins or some stock plugins, well then you have to constantly go back to your DAW so you can open and close those plugins and you can tweak them. Now you can program those plugins to be controlled on the UF8, and you'll see that in the upcoming videos. You can do that. It's a little clunky, but it does work. It works as well as any of the other ones that are out there. So it does do the job. So what I found was, and so that was one thing to keep in mind. Now, if you have multiple displays or multiple screens, you can have your 360 software sitting up on one screen, and you can have your DAW in front of you, or vice versa. So you could do that. But one thing that I found was when on this 360 software, depending on the way you set the resolution for your display monitor, as you can see here, I can't see all of the channel strip. I see the dynamic section. The only way I can see this is if I bring my mouse over and use the scroll wheel to scroll down to the EQ section. You can't do that from the UF8. At least I have not been able to figure out a way to do it. And so what that means is on every single track, once you're done, doing your dynamic section and doing your input section, you have to scroll down. You have to take your hands off. You got to take your hand off the unit and put it on the mouse. That I don't like. That's kind of a pain. Now, if you shrunk down your resolution so you could blow this thing up and really stretch it out, you would be able to get everything on the screen, but then everything becomes very difficult to read. At least for me, it does. I mean, I have a 27-inch monitor. I'm arm's length away, and anything less than this resolution, small-wise on the screen, makes it hard. So this in and of itself, I don't like. I wish there was a way, and I couldn't find a way. Maybe when you're in layer 2, when you're in plugin 360, plugin mixer software, there's no way to do it from what I can tell. So what I found was, other than that it looks really cool, and it looks really cool, I find it more efficient for me to be in layer 1 and to be here. Because once you open up the plugin the first time, as you saw, anytime I change, the plugin changes along with it. So do I really need to have every one of those EQs and dynamics laid out in front of me? I don't know that I really need to, because, and I know we're trying to emulate a real console. I get it. But here's the thing. With a real console, when you have it laid out like this, one of the big benefits to working on a real console is you could put your hands on multiple things at the same time. In other words, I could be putting my hands, on the EQ section of one track and the fader of another. You can do that with the physical thing. With this, you really can't do that. If you have one track selected, I can't adjust the EQ or something on track 2, because only thing that UF8 is going to affect is whatever track is selected. So you still really only can work on one track at a time. However, you have it all laid out in front of you. So I guess it's just really a matter of how you like to work. And if you like to work in this mode, you know, maybe if I did it longer, I might feel differently, but in the limited time that I used it, I found it a little disjointing. If you were in layer 2 and you wanted to mix with these faders like this and you wanted everything out in front of you, that's pretty cool. But for me, I found going here, not using this not using this screen, and just staying inside of here and keeping the plugin open and just advancing from one track to the other, that was equally as fast for me. And then if I have other plugins in my session, I can just open them up and I can work with them with my mouse, or I could map those. You can map them to the UF8 and you can open them all from the UF8. You know what I mean? Because the UC1 only does the SSL plugins, the 2 channel strips and the bus compressor. Does that make sense? So I don't know if you guys have any questions that I can maybe try to answer here. Let me bring up my chat here for a second. Get it on the screen. You won't be able to see it, I don't think. No. Okay, so let me just, if you guys have any immediate questions, again, I don't know every nook and cranny of this thing, but I know it enough that I mixed 2 songs with it, and it was pretty fast. And the members of mixingmadeeasy.net, you guys will see that in the upcoming months. I did 2 songs in a row, one with this channel strip, one with the other channel strip that they have. And so you'll see how these things really work in action, and it is pretty quick. Let's just see. Let me, if you guys have any quick questions, go ahead and ask them. Let's just see. Let's see. Michael says, hi, Michael. Do you think the UC1 will ever support plugins other than SSL? I don't know. I don't think so. And if it did, it would be very confusing, because the way this UC1 is laid out, it's laid out to look like an SSL channel strip, you know, and if you start putting third-party plugins with it, I'm sure it could be done. But I don't think that would be very useful. I think you'd be better off doing it with the UF8. So I would say probably not. But who knows? Maybe they'll come out with a different type of controller where you can do that. But on the one that's sitting here, I don't think so. John says, hey, John, I'm curious, how do you all rate the UF8 to the fader port if Studio One is my main DAW? I found that the functionality with the UF8 and again, I did the fader port videos, John. If you haven't seen them, go check out the fader port 16 videos. I found the functionality to be pretty much the same. I personally like the look and feel and the ease of, I wouldn't say the ease of use, but it's more logically laid out to me, the UF8 than the fader port. The fader port, you could do a lot of multifunction stuff, but you got to use shift keys, and the buttons, when you hit the shift key, don't always behave the way you thought. There was some clunky things about the fader port that I didn't like. I would go with the UF8 if it was me, even if you're using Studio One. But I know people that own the fader port that love it, and it is a good product. I think this is a better product, but it's also, this UF8 is $1,399, $1,400 for a fader port 8. It's $600. So, I mean, it's considerably more money, but I think it's a better product overall. If money wasn't your concern, it was more about the functionality thing of it. Let's see. Any other questions? John says he thinks the price of the fader port, especially you can get a 16. That's true. Yep. The SSL is the most expensive one that's out there. The only one that's probably the same price, or I don't know exactly today, the Icon QCon, if you just get the center section with the master section and the 8 faders, that probably runs pretty close to this SSL. Probably runs pretty close to that price wise. And I got to be straight with you. I would still buy the UF8 before I bought the QCon. The QCon is killer looking, but the plug-in control on it kind of sucks, to be dead honest with you. And it takes up a lot more space. I like the meter bridge on it. It looks really cool. And if you were going to get like the big, with the big 2432, and you wanted to make it a centerpiece of your studio, and you were just using the Icon primarily for fader, that's a killer product. But if you're looking for more of an all-in-one deal, this one's better, I think. Head and shoulders better, to be honest. But yes, the fader port is a lot less money, but I don't think it's as good. It's not built as well, and I felt it. Here's what I'll say. out of every single one of the DAW controllers that you've seen on the channel, every one of them, with the exception of this one, I've had to talk to the engineers at the companies, in some cases multiple times, to walk me through certain things on how to use it before I could do the videos. And I'm just going to leave it at that. Okay. Even though I did those pretty much live on camera, but there were some things I just couldn't do because I couldn't figure it out. It was so unbelievably clunky. And once they described it to me and they showed me the workarounds, I'm like, it's, you know, and again, I don't want to get into the detail because I don't want to bash the companies, because they're all good companies, they're all good products, and everyone that owns those products like them for the most part. This is the first time I didn't need to do that. So for what that's worth. Let's see. Okay, yeah, you said the build quality is better, John. Yep, it is. If you put your hands on one, you'll see. Michael says, as nice as this would look on my desk, I'm thinking I have to go with a console fader one. Cool. Just to be able to use my SSL and UA plugins in one unit. I don't know. Yeah, so the Softube Console One, the advantages are, one, you have, well, and again, it doesn't come with it. Advantages are when you buy the Console One, and again, unless they're running a special deal, when I was doing those videos for you guys, it comes with one plugin. It comes with the SSL 4000 channel strip. Cool, right? If you want the API and the Neve, you got to pay for them. They're $200 each, I believe. At least they were at that time. So to get the multiple channel strips. They do control the UA plugins. They do. But you go see the videos. I show you how that's done. I don't know. I think that's kind of clunky. The way they do the UA plugins is a little clunky, but it does work. No one else has done that. You got to tip the hat to them for that. There are some more flexibility in that. Let's say on the Console One, you want to put, you have your channel strip up there, and you want to use the EQ section from the API channel strip if you owned it. And then you want to use the dynamic section of the SSL. You can do that. And if you want to use the saturation section from the Neve, you can do that. You can build your own custom channel strips. So there's a little more flexibility in that respect. There is. There are more plugins that are controlled on the Softube Console One in the Softube suite of plugins. SSL doesn't have as many yet. They only have 3 for this UC one. Hopefully over time there'll be more. So in that respect, you are correct. If you're looking, if you want to be able to do your SSL and your UA plugins, then that might be more of your option. But I did not like the way it does the UA. I thought it was clunky, but it works. It works. So it's just a matter of what, you know, your personal workflow and what you like, you know, that kind of thing. That's all it is. The Console One is a good product. I mean, if you go watch the videos and you watch the live stream, it's still up on the channel. You'll see I said a lot of good things about it. I do like it. At the time, I really did like it. But when I compare it to this setup, for me personally, I would be buying this long before I bought the Console One, because number one, I'm an SSL guy and I love the SSL stuff. And number two, I think these are better made products. They're easier to use, and all the things I said earlier, they're easier to see the printing. It just feels more like, it feels like a more professional piece of gear. And I felt more comfortable on this faster than the Console One. But part of that could be, honestly, Michael, because I have a real SSL. And so when I look at the UC1 and when I touch this thing, it's exactly the way it is on my console. And so I don't even need to look at it because I'm so used to working on it. And so that might be part of it as well, if that makes sense. Let's see. Jim says that he had a UC1 and currently uses fader ports. Cool. The UC1 is nice, but the fader ports work great with Studio One. Yeah, guys that have the fader port love them. They love them, and that's great. Let's see. He says, oh, okay. Jim says he uses 2 fader port 8s. Oh, cool. With a UF8 in the middle, then you can get the fader ports fairly cheap used. Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess you could do that. Okay, John said he did have a Console One, but he returned it. For me, having all the money tied up in a console to control certain plugins, it was a great unit and works great. But with Studio One, it just wasn't for me, but it's great. Yeah, you know, I will say that all of these control surfaces, DAW controllers, plugin controllers, etc., it really, really comes down to your personal workflow and how you just feel comfortable with it. They're not for everybody, and you know, some have their favorites. And the way I would say too is I also believe that you can get used to just about anything. I mean, if you use any of these products long enough, you develop the muscle memory and you develop all the little nooks and crannies and the limitations of what, you know, the workarounds, if there are any, those kinds of things. And you could get used to anything. You could get pretty fast at using any of these things. But for some people, it doesn't connect with them, or they don't connect with it and it doesn't work for them, and they're right back to mouse keyboard. And there's nothing wrong with that either. There's nothing wrong with that as well. Jim says that he hopes that PreSonus redesigns the fader ports so they're more streamlined and a bit smaller. Yeah, I don't, you know, I know there'll be another version of that fader port at one point. I know that is probably true. I just don't know when that would happen. And I got to be honest with you, I gave him quite a bit of feedback on the things that I thought needed to be improved on it. And there's a lot of things on that fader port 16 that could be improved. And I think that that product could be a wonderful controller if there were a few things. And you got to also remember too, and this is part of this. This is why this one has cost so much more money. A lot of times these companies, they're backing into a price point. And when you're backing into a price point, I think someone mentioned a little earlier in the chat that you could get a fader port 8 for $600. This is $1,300. So there are going to be some things in that fader port, if you're just comparing them to face value, that are not going to do what this one does, or it's not going to be built the same as this. You know, you're not going to get $1,300 worth of features and build quality in a $600 product. It's just not going to happen. So there's going to be some limitations. I think if the fader port had everything in it that I probably had suggested to him, it would probably be a $1,200 product, you know? So that's part of it too. They're trying to make products that fit their demographic customers where there's a certain price point they're trying to hit. SSL, traditionally, I mean, if you know, before they got into these kinds of products, they make high-end recording consoles. They make expensive, high-quality products. And so therefore, you know, when they get into this market, you know, they're going to make a really good quality product, but it's going to cost more. It just is. You know, it's hard. You're not going to get a UF8 apples to apples, same exact thing for half the price. It's not going to happen. But not everybody needs that too. So there you go. Let's see. John says the Avid dock does have fader, but you also have to have a tablet to really get everything out of it. Yeah, people have asked me about the Avid S products, and there's a couple of them, but they're so ungodly expensive. I mean, you think this is expensive? Go buy one of those Avid products. I think that Avid S2 or S4, one of those things, it's like some ridiculous amounts of money. And I know they have a tablet and there's some cool things you can do with it. But I mean, if you think $1,300 is crazy, go look at the Pro Tools stuff. I mean, that's why I won't even bring one on the channel to show, because I know most of my audience isn't going to spend $6,000 on a DAW controller. They're just not. And so, and I don't know how well that thing works with anything outside of Pro Tools. And I'm not interested in getting Pro Tools just to show you guys that product. So look at it that way. Kaiser said the Fader Port 8 looks like a kid's toy. Well, I've had them both in my hand. I wouldn't say it's a kid. I'll say this, that the Fader Port 8 or the 16 is about on par to the build quality of a Softube Console 1. It's good. It's not this. It's not this. It's not. But I wouldn't say, when I had that in the studio and I played with it, I wouldn't say it's cheap and chintzy. I wouldn't go down that road. But it's definitely does not have the build quality of something like this. And again, it's about price. This has the UF8 I'm pointing to here, even the UC1, but the UF8 to me is a far superior built product than the Fader Port. And I'm not saying the Fader Port's a bad product. It's not a bad product. But comparatively speaking, it's not the same thing. It just isn't. And I'm just being honest. And you know, I love PreSonus. You know, I've been using them for dozens of years and I love them. And I got a Studio Live. You guys saw that on the last live stream. It's coming soon. They make great products. but they also make them at a very, very reasonable price, you know, very reasonable. So you gotta put that into consideration. Okay, let's see. There is also, hey John, there's also another outboard controller that Matty Harris showed that can do plugins from almost everyone. It's configured as in an SSL channel strip fashion. Great. Can you put a link or can you tell us what that is? We'd love to see it. Kaiser says Fisher Price. Nah. Oh, don't be mean. Oh, geez. Let's see. John says he hasn't had any quality issues. Has not had any quality issues with his fader port, and it does work great with Studio One. Yeah, again, you know, full disclaimer. I'm not saying the fader port's a bad product, but you know, you guys come here, I would hope, because, you know, you love talking Uncle Dave, but for one reason only, I'm honest with you about these things. I give you my honest opinion. And I love all these companies, but I'm not going to say, well, I can't say that because this company, no. This is a far better built product in the Studio PreSonus fader port. But the fader port is a good product and it does work great. And for that amount, for fader port 16 faders for $900, that's a hell of a deal. It's a hell of a deal, even with some of its shortcomings. And I think there's a few of them, but I wouldn't say anything that's a showstopper. It's just a matter of the way it works, but it works well with Studio One. But if I remember right, I think this one works equally as well with Studio One. I can't remember anything off the top of my head. I'd have to go back and watch my own videos. They're almost a year old now. That there was something that the fader port did with Studio One that this UFA didn't do. I don't think there is. I don't think there is. I could be wrong about that, but there's certainly not a bunch of features that the fader port only does with Studio One that no one else does. I don't believe that's the case. I'd have to go back and watch the videos, and you guys should too. Let's see. Anything else? Dave's put all kinds of links. Thanks, Dave, for putting all those links in there. Good, man. Go on sale. We only got a couple hours left, guys, and then the sale's over for 60% off. Go get your training. Okay, let's see. Any other questions? Michael says, I appreciate the feedback. Oh, you're welcome, man. At any time, my friend. Tyler Johnson says, I'm looking to step up the audio for my YouTube videos. Does anyone have a microphone recommendations for a 20-watt guitar amp? You mean recording a guitar amp? Yeah, Shure SM57. You can buy a used one anywhere for 75 bucks. That's what I would tell you. If you're recording guitar and you want something that is just a really good, you know, workhorse that just has been recording guitars for the last 50 years and they sound great, that's the one. Red says, UF8 and the UC1 combo, hands down. I've had both the fader port and the console one, no comparison. Yeah, again, if as of all the ones that I've used, as I said earlier, in case you joined a little late, you say, Dave, which one would you get? You've had them all. Would be this pair right here. If I was in the market to buy a plug-in controller, DAW control, you know, fader thingy, which one would I want to have? Which one would I buy? Would be this one. Without a doubt, without even hesitation. The only other one that I would even consider would be the soft tube. And there was enough things about the soft tube compared to this I don't like that I would buy this. But that's me. Hey, Bobby, how are you? Thanks, man. You're welcome, Tyler. Anytime, brother. Any other questions? Anything else? What have we been on here? Only about an hour and 5 minutes. So what else do you guys want to know about this? Like I said, go watch the videos where I walk you through an in-depth look at these things. The UF8 videos haven't been posted yet. We got, I think, one more week of UC1 stuff, and then we're moving on to the UF8. You'll see all of those. And I also gave you, at the end of the UC1 series, there is a video dedicated to what I like about it, what I don't like about it, kind of in a little bit more depth than what we're talking about here tonight. And the same thing with the UF8. And so I think you'll find that everything I'm saying tonight is consistent with what you're going to see in those videos. Yeah, and then that'll be it for these two things. And then we're going to take a look at the PreSonus Studio Live Mixer, not only for DAW control, but for some recording stuff as well. And but we're going to compare the DAW control features of that to how does that compare to their fader port, which is probably pretty much the same. And how does that compare to this? Now, I haven't used their DAW control on the Studio Live Mixer since it first came out, which is probably 4 years ago at this point. And back then, when they first did DAW control with that Studio Live Mixer, it was really clunky. It really, truly was. But I'm told they've improved it significantly since that time. And I'm hoping that's the case. And we're going to check that out. So you guys, we're going to do a whole series of videos on that thing too, to see how does that stack up compared to these two things versus just a regular old, you know, fader port. Because the difference, you know, because the mixer has inputs, it's a recording console, it's an interface, it's everything. The fader port is just a controller. So, from, you know, the mixer's considerably more money, but it does a lot more, you know what I mean? But for the DAW control, you know, we're going to see. Bobby says, I'll stick with my fader port it already paid for. There you go, brother. Don't spend any more money than you have to. I'm not telling you to sell your fader port, run out and buy this. If the fader port is working for you, then the fader ports are working for you. And again, the fader ports are great products. Great products. Let's see, a bit late live. Does it work well with Uendo? I know it works with Cubase. So I would assume, yes, Cubase, Uendo, I would think it would do the same. I don't have Uendo, but yes, I'm almost certain that it does. So this UF8 will also work with, you know, all the major DAWs, just like they all do. Pro Tools, Cubase, Studio One, and now they're also working with Universal Audio Luna as well. This will work with Universal Audio Luna. I don't know if the other DAW controls will yet. I'm assuming that they probably will. How well they work with Luna and how well do they work with different DAWs, I'm not quite sure. But yeah, this one, I'm sure if it works with Cubase, it will work with Uendo as well. Yeah, I would assume so. I would assume so. So, anything else? Any other questions? Make sure, again, hit all the links, hit the like, share, subscribe, do all those things. Again, we got a couple hours left. Go get the 60% off sale on all the training courses because that sale goes away. And then there'll be more sales, but it won't be at 60% off. So this is the time to save your most money. And again, if you really want to get into mixing, go check out mixingmadeeasy.net because we're only open up membership enrollment once a year and it ends at the end of this month. And then you can't get in for at least another year. Can't get in for another year. No matter what. So there you go. Let's see here. I think we have a couple more questions. Okay, here we go. Mossberg. Hey, Mossberg. 555. So you said you like the Softube because it controls UAD plugins. But I bought Soft so it would, when I bought Softube so you can use both together. Oh, I see what you're saying. So yes, if you bought the console one, so are you saying a UF8 and a console one as opposed to UF8 and a UC1? Yeah, I guess you could do that. Yeah, sure. You could do that. You can have a UF8 for the fader control if you wanted, and then you can have your console one because you want to control your UA plugins. But also remember, this can also control UA plugins as well. You can map it just like you can any plugin. You'll see that in the videos coming up over the next few weeks. So yeah, so I think Mossberg, I think you can, yeah, you should be able to do that with no problem. No problem. Let's see, you got a couple more here. Bobby says, any new training videos? Yep. Yeah, Bobby, I said at the beginning of the stream, we have actually four courses that are coming. Well, the first one is coming. It should be done next week. The recording in Studio One course for version 6, that is almost done. It'll be released before the end of this year for sure. And then after that, we'll be coming, going to be completely redoing the recording drums and mixing drums course that are already on the website that are like 6 or 7 years old. Those are going to be completely rebuilt from the ground up, and they're going to be a lot more involved than those two. Those are coming. And then they're on mixing and mixing music analog. There's going to be 2 hybrid courses coming in 2023. So there's going to be 4 new training courses coming up over the next 12 months. And you got to be on the email list, as I know you are, Bobby, but everyone's got to be on the email list if you want to know about those courses when they come out, and if you want to buy them at a discount, because the general public always pays full price. You guys don't if you're on my email list. So yes, more courses will be coming in 2023 for sure. Definitely. Hope that answers your question. Okay, what else? Anything else? Anything else? Anything else? Or can you guys are going to let me go? I guess we could probably switch back to this. Switch back to that screen. There we go. There we go. So I really want to thank everybody for, I'm just switching windows around here, guys. Hold on. Oops. I want to thank everyone for joining me tonight. I hope this was somewhat helpful to you. Again, just make sure you watch all the videos. You'll see everything that I said tonight in those videos, but in a little bit more detail. And again, if you want to get a UF8 or a UC1 or anything at Sweetwater, use the links in the description box below. It really does help me. Let's see, Eric. Hey, Eric, how are you, buddy? My only request from SSL is that when you touch any knob on the UC1, it should scroll to the part in the 360 software. When you just physically touch the knob, it does not. That is true. But when you turn the knob, it will switch channels in the 360 software. But if you're talking about touch sensitive on the UC1, Eric, you are absolutely right. However, on the UF8, you probably already know this, but for people who don't, there is a setting in the UF8 that when you touch the faders, they're touch sensitive, it will automatically change the channel. So you don't have to hit the select button. You can just put your hand on the actual fader cap and it will do that. I didn't like that, honestly. I tried that. I found myself accidentally keep hitting different faders and it would switch tracks, but I didn't like that personally, but that feature is there. But yes, that's something that does not happen on the UC1. You're absolutely correct. I notice your SSL products don't have a lot of bugs or issues when they release stuff. It's always top quality release, especially consider all the DAWs it's compatible with. Yeah, a lot of times with these products, what I find, and this is what the companies have said to me, and I believe that it to be true. Remember we were talking about earlier, sometimes when you do something on the hardware, it doesn't always reflect in the screen, and every single product has that issue to some degree. The controllers, the manufacturers that make the hardware say it's really the DAW is the problem. It's working with the different DAW companies to get them to program certain things in a way so when you touch something or do a specific thing on a piece of hardware, it reflects in the DAW. And that's, they say, always the holdup. There was a lot of that with the Icon unit. Even the SSL unit, the UF8 has that problem to some degree. But oddly enough, those same things happen with the fader port as well. And the one thing that I don't understand is that PreSonus makes both the hardware and the software. Those problems should be non-existent, and they're not non-existent. They are existent. Not a lot of them, but there are some of them. But as far as also too, I think you said something about the SSL not having any bugs or issues. Again, I said it a little earlier in case you didn't hear me or you tuned in late, excuse me. This was the only product I've used so far where I didn't have to reach out for support as I was trying to get my bearings to do the videos. Because some of them were a little buggy. Some of them had to have software uninstalled and reinstalled. Again, it wasn't a massive catastrophe and we couldn't use the product because then I wouldn't have done the videos. I got it all worked out. It wasn't that big of a deal. But there was some things like that where with this one, I just plugged it in and it just worked. And I didn't need to contact anyone at SSL and say, I can't figure this out. There's a couple of things that I couldn't figure out, and I think it's because the unit doesn't do it. And I recommend with the UF8 because every DAW, all the soft keys on the UF8 do something different with different DAWs. You want to read their manual, but their manual is very well laid out, extremely well laid out, and it's really easy. So, again, I didn't have any issues with it personally. It's not to say that you wouldn't have an issue, but I didn't. But you're right about us again, And again, I think again, part of that, if you pay the top dollar for these, we keep saying all night, these are way more expensive than the fader port. They're way more expensive than the console one. They are. And when you pay that kind of money, you should expect it to be better built, to have less issues. It should be a lot more seamless of a thing when you pay more money, should it be? And so, yeah, hats off to SSL for that, but that's what we would expect if we're going to spend 2.5 times the money. Where some of the more affordable products, sometimes there might be a couple of little things that need to be figured out or fixed or workarounds. And hey, that's okay too. It's just, that's part of it, right? So anyhow, Blue Java. Hey, Blue Java, how are you? You rock. Thanks, man. Thank you. If you had to pick one to start, the UF8 or the UC1. Oh, if I had to pick one to start, the UC1. And this is why. And I was saying this, I don't know to who. I think it might have been Dave SJ at one time. The one thing that I found as I was doing all these videos, the one thing that you do the most in your DAW is plugin tweaking open up plugins, tweaking the parameters. That's the thing that you do the most in a DAW when it comes to mixing. The faders are the second most important thing you do, moving the faders. So if it was for me, I would do the UC1 because the UC1 you can control. If you're working in the 360 software, the fader, you can do it. It doesn't control your DAW faders, but it will control the 360 faders if you want it to work that way. So you can do that. And because the plugin controller is so well done, I would have this. But again, the flip side of that is you only can control 3 of the plugins. If you're only using the SSL plugins, this is the killer controller for that. And I love the SSL plugins. So for me, that's what I would do. If you said, well, what if I want to use my Plugin Alliance plugins? Well, the UC1's not for you then. You want to map it to the UF8 and use it with the UF8. But if you're into the SSL ecosystem and I had to choose one over the other, I would go with the UC1 because that would speed up my workflow the most, because most of it's done with the plugin controller, and I would only need to use my mouse to move my faders in my DAW. And I actually the video that got released today, I think it is, you'll see me do some of that mixing that way with just the UC1 on the YouTube channel. So that's what I would do. That would be, hope that helps, give you some insight. Let's see. Blue Java says, hoping the SSL plugins, all the SSL plugins become M1 native soon. I don't know that they're not. They all work. Well, I don't know. I mean, I have an M1 and every single SSL plugin works. So I don't know if that's what you mean. I don't know of any that don't work. Kaiser says, looking forward to the 500 series DIY videos coming soon to the other channel. Right. Hey, Dave. Hey, I use SoundGym for ear training, and it vastly helps on what I need to hear. Oh, cool. Yeah, I've not used it a lot, but I've heard of SoundGym. It is a good ear training app. I've heard of it. I don't know much about it, but it's a great way for ear training. So yeah, I think you can get an app on your phone or something if I remember right. That's a cool thing to look at. That's cool, man. Ear training's really good. And once again, if you want to be a member of MixingMadeEasy.net, MixingMadeEasy.net, during the monthly content, I have different ear training exercises, different challenges every single month. These guys, you just don't open up the content and you see a finished mix and I kind of just breeze you through how I mix the song. That's not the way it works there. We mix a whole song together from start to finish in real time. That's why it takes 4 to 5 hours to go through all the videos every month. And every month we're using different plugins. We're doing different mixing challenges, different concepts and techniques. There is an enormous amount of ear training that I do during the month of that content where we're stopping and we're listening and I'm having you pick things out and all of that. So it's really to become an all-around better mixing engineer. MixingMadeEasy.net's where you want to be, and it's the cost of it's less than a cup of coffee a day. I mean, it's almost stupid what that membership costs for the amount of content you get. So go check it out. Hey, Wooden Beast, how are you? Hit the thumbs up. Yeah, hit the thumbs up. We got 2 thumbs down. 2 thumbs down. People are just never happy. We don't like the way you do your videos. We don't like the way you do your live stream. And I say, oh, that's okay, man. Where's your YouTube video, man? Where's your live stream? Show us how it's all done. Those people don't have a YouTube channel. They don't do that kind of stuff. Hey, man, we do what we do. If you like it, great. And as long as the majority of you like it and you have fun and we kid, that's fine. If a few of you don't like it, just like anything else, go to another channel. You could go there. Wooden Bee says, what is the decent pair of headphones for $300 to $400? There's a few out there that I've used. The Sennheiser HD 600, 650s are in that ballpark price-wise that are really, really good. These Neumanns are really good, but these are about 600, a little bit out of your price range, or your budget that you mentioned, but Neumann just released a pair a little bit cheaper too, an open back set, I think for about 400 or 450. Those are really good. Focal makes a set of, what are they called? I want to say the Spirits. Those are $400 or so. So Sennheiser, Focal, Neumann. Those would be my recommendations, only because those are the ones I'm familiar with. I'm sure there's other great headphones out there. I'm just not familiar with it. Blue Java says they work, but the VST3 version is not available in M1 native. Oh, only the audio units. Found this out when I was trying to use the Wave Studio Rack. Oh, okay. Okay. I didn't know that. Okay. So there is a workaround, right? You can use them, but they're not, but I hear what you're saying. Okay. That's good information. I didn't know that. Let's see. Would like to suggest, the Voxengo plugins in an upcoming video. I don't know their plugins, so I've never used them. Want to thank you for what you do not pay attention to. Let's see. We thank you for what you do. Do not pay attention to negative input. Oh, no. Oh, I only care. People actually think it bothers me. It doesn't. I just laugh about it. I just think it's funny. I think it's funny. It doesn't bother me at all. It really, truly doesn't. Like I said, I feel sorry for people that go to YouTube channels and they're just, they're just negative. They're not happy with anything. I know the majority of people really like what I do and we all get a kick out of it. And for the people who don't like what I do, who cares? I don't care. You're not here paying me anything. If you really, you really like what I do, hit the super chat, super thanks. Go ahead. If you really like what I do, those are the people I care about, the people that support what I do here. If I'm helping you in any way, or you know what, if you're just having a good time after work and you get to get on here and chat about gear with people, if it helps, relieve some of your bad day, then it was well worth it for me to come here. So that's how I look at it. And the rest of the people, who cares about them? Doesn't matter. Let's see. Wouldn't be, Byte Right Sounds talking to him. Eric says, I just copped the Beyerdynamics DT 1990 Pros about that same price. I know they make great headphones. I've just not used them, but that's a good input, man. Good input. Let's see. David SJ says he has the Sennheisers and they are tough to beat at the price. Yeah, I used Sennheisers as well for a couple of years. They're great headphones, The only reason why I got rid of them is because they were open back, at least the ones that I had were. And when I was doing tutorials like this, the audio would leak into my vocal mic. So I had to go with closed back headphones, and that's why I moved to the Neumanns. But the Sennheisers were really great headphones. I think I even still have them floating around here somewhere. They were really, really good. I really liked them. So yeah. So again, any other questions? Anything else? Anything else? Going once, going twice. Once again, make sure that you roll out to homerecordingmadeeasy.com. I don't want to hear you guys moaning and groaning Sunday when you say, hey, I didn't get a chance to buy the course and now it's more money. Can you help me? Because the answer is going to be no. I can't. Hey man, thanks for the super chat, brother. You didn't have to do that. I was only teasing, but thank you so much. I really do appreciate that. You're glad that you found me. Thank you in the first place. I'm better than Joe Gilder's videos. Oh, Joe's a good guy. I don't know him personally, but he's been around a long time. Joe's okay. Joe's okay. I like Joe. I know him. I don't know him personally. I've tried to hook up with Joe Gilder in the past. He doesn't want to hang. He doesn't want to talk to me. I don't know why. It's funny. All these cats that you see out there that are in the Studio One ecosystem, I reached out to every one of those guys multiple times over the years to try to, collaborate or have a chat or do a live stream together. And none of them like me. I'm sure they like me. None of them are interested in me. That's okay. It's okay. I'll be here by myself. It's no big deal. But no, I'm glad you're here, man. I'm glad the videos are helping, and anyone that does the Studio One community, at least for YouTube creators, there's a lot of people out there to create content. So there's a lot of resources for you, and they're all great. We all do something a little bit different, and I wouldn't say anything bad about anybody because they're all great, even if they don't like me. That's okay. Laugh out loud. Wouldn't be says I am far better than Brandex. Well, that's very kind of you. Very kind. Everyone is cool. Everyone's fun. Let's see. Bright Rice says Joe works for PreSonus ever since he started Home Studio Corner. Yes, he does work for PreSonus. At least he did work for PreSonus. Again, I don't know him personally, but he's been around a long time, Home Studio Corner. I've watched a lot of his videos back in the early days, and he made some good content, man. And I'm sure he still does make great content. But yes, he is a representative for PreSonus, and he does a great job there. I think I am probably, if not I know I'm not the only one, but I am probably the largest YouTube channel as far as Studio One content where that doesn't work for PreSonus. I'm pretty confident of that. If there's another channel out there that does as much Studio One and PreSonus content as I do, that's not a PreSonus employee, I'd love to see their channel, but I don't think there is one. And so I kind of pride myself on the fact that I don't work for them. Not that I could work for them, or not that I wouldn't want to work, nothing about them personally. But I personally, I don't work for any of these companies, because the reason why is really simple. I want to be able to come on here and give you my honest opinion. I can't come on here as a PreSonus employee and tell you the UF8's a better product than the Faderport, even though it is. Joe Gilder can't say that. And it doesn't even matter whether he believes it or not. He may not even believe it, but I'm saying if he did believe it, I'm just using him as an example because his name came up. And again, I love Joe. I love his channel. He's a great guy from what I'm told. Joe's great. And if Joe, you ever see this, I'd love to talk to you sometime, brother. Anyway, those guys that all work for these companies, they can't be 100% tell you what's on their minds, because they can't. Obviously, Uncle Dave can say whatever he wants. And I would never get on here and tell you, I don't bash any of these companies. They're all great companies. They all make great products, but there are, there are differences between them. There are ones that I prefer over others for certain reasons. And I'm able to come on here and be honest with you about that. If I worked for PreSonus or any other company, I couldn't do that. And so that's why I think what I do here is a little bit more unique, in that, not that those guys are not honest. I don't want to say they're being dishonest. Don't misread me. I'm just saying I can be very forthcoming, because I don't owe anybody anything for anybody. Nobody pays me. I come on here and I tell you, hey man, I like this product and here's why I like it. And I like it better than this product and here's why. But all the products are good and all the companies are great. PreSonus is a wonderful company. They've been very good to me over the years, even though they've never paid me anything. I've never worked for them, but they've given me, they've sent me the Faderport when I did the review. They sent me a Studio Live so I could do a review for you guys. And so they're great people, PreSonus. And I love Studio One. I've been using them for 12 years. They're great. So that's why. Oh, Bright Right just gave me a Starbucks. Thank you, brother. I love Starbucks. That was very kind of you. Thank you so much. It's very, very nice. Wooden B says PreSonus is a great company. They're a fabulous company and they're great people. And I talk to a lot of insiders there on a regular basis, and they're very, very good people. Thank you, Bright Right Sound. That was very nice of you. Very cool of you. Just find how you are WB. What's WB? Just find how you are WB. I don't know what WB means, but I'm sure Bobby said it. It means something kind. Uncle Dave, you do a good service. I try, man. You guys are having fun. As long as you're having fun, that's why I'm here. I'm here to help, and you guys are having fun. So that's really cool. Let's see. Got another question here. Love PreSonus products and hardware and software. Let's see. Yeah. Oh, yeah. He says he loves PreSonus products, their hardware and their software. Thought twice about try Cubase a few times, but because of the ease of use and the UI, it made me want to stay with PreSonus. Yeah, Cubase. I have Cubase. Cubase was the DAW that I used before PreSonus Studio One, before there was a Studio One. I used Cubase for many years. And the only reason why I ever switched to Studio One back in those days is because Studio One was the first DAW to be 64-bit, not 32-bit. People don't remember that. And that's why I originally switched, because back in those days, that was a big deal when you were using things like the old Mac Pros and stuff. You needed 64-bit, allowed you to use more memory in the computer. It's a whole computer tech thing. And that's what made me move to Studio One. About a year after Cubase came out with Cubase, I want to say Cubase 6 was the first time they did 64-bit, but by that time I was already hooked in Studio One. But Cubase was a great DAW as well. I know it's still a great DAW. I don't really use it very often, but it is very good. But I'm so used to Studio One now that I just like Studio One. I just think Studio One is the best DAW on the planet, and I still believe that. So, Dave says inflation is too high. Yeah, it is. Trust me. That's why all my courses are on sale. You guys having problems with inflation like everybody else? I'm trying to help everybody and give everybody a great deal. Save some money. So anyhow, we're going to get out of here. I want to thank you so much again for joining me. You guys have all been great. We'll do another live stream for sure before the end of the year to wrap up the end of the year and to hang out around Christmas time. Make sure that you and your family are safe and have a wonderful Thanksgiving. If you don't see me around in the next few weeks, I hope everyone is safe and everyone has a great holiday season. And we'll start wrapping down 2022 and get into 2023. And once again, if you want to see another live stream on Sunday evening, Dave will probably throw a link up in the chat for the live stream over at Mixing Music Analog. That's where Dave and I will do a live stream. And we have a special guest this week. We have Charlie Waymeyer from Ultimate Studios, Inc. out of Los Angeles. And we talk about gear and consoles. We talk about the music business. We talk about a lot of that kind of stuff that we don't really talk about here at Home Recording Made Easy. So if you're interested in hanging out with another chat and you get to hang out with us and let us and ask us some questions, we'll be doing that over at our other YouTube channel, Mixing Music Analog. So until then, until next time, everybody have a great holiday and I'll see you all soon. Thank you so much for joining me. Bye, everybody.